You're listening to the Mile You're In podcast. Everything running related, from 100 meters to 100 miles. And now, here's your host, Phil Patterson Jr.
What's going on, everybody? We're back for another episode of the Mile You're In podcast. And as always, let me give thanks and shout outs to my Patreon supporters, Becky from Miami, Francine from Pembroke Pines, and the anonymous supporter who will remain nameless by request. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Let's get right into it, because this is something I've had on my mind, especially lately with the up and down weather changes in South Florida. Since I follow so many runners on social media, whether they're local or far away, something I notice is that many will resort to running on the treadmill, even canceling their runs when the weather conditions are not preferable. Now, I understand some conditions can be dangerous and obviously should be avoided, but many times they're not that bad. Many times they're what are considered race acceptable, meaning if they occurred during a scheduled race, it would still take place. With that in mind, you have to get out there and train. It's going to suck compared to your expectations, but you have to prepare for the worst. If you're only training indoors or outside when the weather conditions are great, come race day, you're going to be in for a hell of a surprise, and most likely you're going to be disappointed with your results. I used to do that myself, and I would pray for perfect weather and show up to humid or windy conditions that I didn't prepare for, and I ended up having a miserable race, felt like a failure. And it really wasn't until I started embracing those days during training and better preparing myself that I finally started seeing the results that I desired. Like, people always ask why I run in the middle of the day, and that's exactly why. I just did it. You have to prepare yourself for all possible conditions. You have to be physically and mentally strong enough to handle whatever Mother Nature is going to throw at you. And in reality, it's the same that could be said about what life throws at you. Like, as I squeeze in training videos for the IT certification that I'm studying for, and I squeeze in time little by little, it's a reminder that if I wait until I have more time, I'll always be waiting. In fact, if I did that, I wouldn't have accomplished many of the things I have so far in my life. Being a parent of a toddler, working full-time, trying to properly train for 100-mile races, it's already time-consuming. Then you throw in trying to improve my education, and I just become pressed for time constantly. But as I recently passed the halfway point in my studying, I realized I'm much further than I would have been if I kept waiting until my son was in school and had more free time without distractions. Sure, it's taking longer than it would have, but I'm still ahead of where I'd be if I was still waiting to start. Like, I always get annoyed at those quotes I see online or in videos about we all have 24 hours in a day, blah, 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 because it's not true. Single individuals don't have the same commitments and responsibilities as a parent. Someone working and going to school has less time than someone who just works and has the rest of the day off to do whatever they want. Sure, we all have 24 hours in a day, but they're not the same 24 hours. If that was true, everyone would already have accomplished all their goals, or at least be further along in the journey than where they currently are. Waiting for the right time allows you to keep pushing things back, seeking perfection that isn't even needed. Like, those perfect conditions you think you need, you don't. How many sports teams lost a key player on their team and still won the championship? Tom Brady, I don't like you. You adapt and keep going. Like, think about it. Attacking goals or responsibilities head on as soon as possible ensures execution and eliminates excuses. Of course, there's going to be failures along the way, but we also experience failure when conditions are perfect. That's life. You can prepare for everything known only to be surprised by the unknown. I think about people, myself included, that have obsessions with starting things on the beginning of a week or a month. Take starting a weight loss routine. The time you spend waiting for that even calendar date, that perfect start date, can lead you to putting on more weight or even having a serious medical emergency, a medical condition. Instead of waiting for a specific date, start now. Because the longer you wait, the harder it gets. There's nothing special about waiting for New Year's Day. Why wait to start something you can start now? Like, why? Because most people that do end up regretting it, and you hear that from them later on down their life. And that's the one piece of advice that they'll usually give you is start. Just get started. I said it on a previous episode. It's better to fail trying than to not try at all. I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to be perfect, to always do better, when even the smartest people are known to do dumb things. The nicest people are known to do mean things. It's normal to make mistakes. We're human. Those experiences have led to lessons learned and growth. If everything always goes your way because you always do them when conditions are in your favor, you're going to miss out on so much in life. And when the time comes and you experience things that don't go your way, you're going to struggle handling it because you're going to be overwhelmed and in an unknown territory. I think we get this false sense of reality by what we see on social media. We see people accomplishing their goals and assume they have all this time in the world and think life is easy for them when there's a good chance that they're handling more than we are. We're only seeing what they allow us to see. I have friends that are handling multiple jobs, school, multiple kids, being a single parent. The list goes on, yet they somehow find the ability to get up and show up. Whether going to school, taking online classes, going to the gym, working out at home, working on that home project, etc., etc., etc. What they're doing is making sacrifices to accomplish instead of excuses to stay idle. I'm no expert. Hell, I procrastinate more than the average person probably does. Many times it's because I honestly lack the dedication. Something else I've talked about on a previous episode, motivation versus dedication. But we have to be honest with ourselves. When things fail in our life, classes, jobs, relationships, whatever else we're involved in, most of the time it's because we didn't do enough. We didn't humble ourselves. We didn't compromise. And that brings me to another point, priorities. We tend to put too much on our plate, making things more of a priority than they should be. I can't even tell you how many results I missed out on because I thought my progress and stats on an Xbox game were really that important when nobody honestly gives a damn. Seriously. I have a good friend that secretly came to me recently because she wanted to run an ultra marathon but wasn't sure if she was ready. Instead of just waiting for everything to align perfectly, waiting to get more training in and be more prepared, she took my advice of using the skills and knowledge she had at that point and to just go for it. Sure, she still prepared and worked on perfecting the craft up until race day, but instead of putting off signing up until she got to that point, she just did it. She went for it and she ended up crushing it. I was really proud of her and her results inspired me. And that's the blessing in it all. We don't always realize who's watching, but people are. And I know that that can add fear for some people, but that's the beauty in life. The people who are watching for the right reasons are going to be inspired and encourage you for chasing your dream, regardless. Those watching and waiting for failure are the ones too afraid to chase their own dreams and just want you to fail because misery loves company. In my dream of running a sub 24-hour 100 miler, I'd say I had one race that had perfect conditions. And although it's my fastest result to date, I was still far from the goal. The contributing factors are my fault. There's nobody else to blame but myself. I didn't train enough. I didn't train properly. I made stupid decisions the night before the race. But then I made changes. I made smarter decisions. But I was hit with new hurdles that I wasn't prepared to overcome. I almost even quit last year. But here I am, taking everything that was thrown at me in the past and using it to my advantage. Whether I succeed this time or not, it won't be because I made excuses. What I hope to inspire with this episode is to show up. I remember Desi Linden winning the Boston Marathon the year the weather was horrendous. Yuki Kawauchi shocked the men's field that day. I know friends who dropped out of that race, as well as many others, because of hypothermia. Does that mean those who finished are better than those that didn't? No. They may not even have trained as hard. We all have bad days. Things don't always go our way. Sometimes when it rains, it pours. The key is that they showed up and they gave it their all. And I guarantee you, anybody who dropped that day kept that in mind anytime the weather sucked on a run after that. And they had a run planned. And I'm willing to bet they used that day as fuel to get out and weather that storm, no pun intended, so that it wouldn't happen again. Just know, if you wait for your perfect conditions, you will never get anything done. Alan Cohen said it best: do not wait for conditions to be perfect to begin. Beginning makes the perfect conditions. So until the next episode, whatever is on your heart to chase after, do it.
Thanks for listening to the Mile You're In podcast. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Check out previous episodes and more at HeelStriker954.com.